His name is Sato Ryuji. All of a sudden, he finds himself in a strange place, noticing two people who look like his boss and work colleague in a heated argument. He is so confused about what is going on that he starts to think he's probably just worried about yesterday's trouble at work. The magicians were trying to summon the greatest cleric, a powerful mage, but ended up summoning a member of the Sato Clinic, which is the name of the hospital Ryuji works at. Acknowledging their mistake, they apologize to Ryuji, bowing their heads. After this, they plan on sending him back to his world, but before that, they present him with a bag of money as compensation for the inconvenience. In the following moment, they recall they can't send someone that has been summoned back to their world, so they kick Ryuji out onto the streets along with that bag of money. At this point, Ryuji thinks this is a dream, so he figures he might as well check this world out. Walking out, he drops his jaw as he observes the beautiful scenery of this world, saying it looks like a game. It doesn't take long before the commoners start to notice something odd about Ryuji. His clothes and hair color are found to be strange, so he heads over to a nearby shop with the goal of purchasing some clothes. He gets a change of clothes and steps in front of the mirror to check it out. There, he drops his jaw once again as he sees that he has gotten a lot younger, looking like someone in his early 20s. This is starting to feel a little too real for Ryuji, which makes him wonder whether this isn't a dream and he has been reincarnated into the new world. The thought of that confuses him because he doesn't recall getting hit by Truck-kun. Remaining in the confused state, he tries to recall the last thing that happened before arriving in this new world. Flashing back to the last few moments of his previous life, Ryuji is seen to be getting both yelled at and overworked at his dead-end job. After that, he goes home, thinking he can finally relax. He heads straight to bed, where he thinks to himself, saying that if he ever gets a break, he would love to visit a beautiful country. Ryuji's dream is to just relax without having to do any work, or have any annoying bosses getting in the way. While he sank into bed, thoughts of that world in his mind. That was the last thing Ryuji remembers, making him wonder whether he had died from being overworked. However, he recalls that the magicians mentioned something about him being summoned here. That aside, he now believes that God sent him to this world so he could finally take a break while giving him a second chance at life. He doesn't want to get caught up in any more trouble, so he decides to leave the city immediately and head for the countryside. In this world, he has made up his mind to live without overexertion, and by living in the countryside, he would be able to achieve that. While daydreaming about what he's going to eat first, he passes the castle and is surprised as to how large it is. Just then, he hears an unknown voice, informing him that he has met the skill acquisition conditions, making his castle magic now available. Shocked by this, he asks the lady for some information about castle magic. But since she's really old, she didn't hear him properly, so she gives him detailed information about white magic instead. Healing and detoxification are both done with white magic, while regular attacks are done with black magic. However, only important figures from the church or those who studied at magic schools can use it. What Ryuji has is castle magic and not white magic, so he knows the information the lady gave won't be of any use to him. Curious for an answer, he bursts out of the carriage, chanting Murado Village. He's trying to find somewhere spacious to try out the magic, but it isn't that easy with the commoners trying to get friendly with him. Reaching an empty field, he tries using his magic, but before doing so, he looks around surprised because it looks like part of his surroundings was just cut away. What he finds even more shocking is an unconscious girl lying on the floor. He immediately rushes over to her, inquiring about her condition, but she still remains unconscious. He looks at her body, acknowledging that she doesn't appear to be injured. With that thought, he wonders whether she is just sick. He could easily heal her if he could use white magic, but unfortunately, he's only capable of using castle magic. Just then, he starts to think deeper about his castle magic, making him wonder whether it gives him the ability to summon a castle. If he could summon a castle right now, he believes the people inside would be able to help the girl. He knows this is a long shot but still decides to try anyway. On casting the spell, he expects a giant castle to appear, but to his surprise, it's his family hospital that appears instead. Although this isn't what he expected, this is his family's place, so he hopes there would be something useful to use for the girl's treatment. He carries the girl around the building, looking for some sort of remedy, where he realizes that neither his mom nor dad is here, meaning it's only the building that spawned. Continuing his search, he comes across a locker filled with a bunch of herbs. Even as a hospital expert, he has never seen any of the herbs up close before, which makes him wonder whether things such as medicine have changed in this new world. He's running out of time to save the girl, so he grabs a random bottle in the closet and pours the content into his hands. Just then, he hears that same voice again, telling him that he has met the skill acquisition conditions, unlocking another skill known as alchemy. Touching the fruit in that container gave him a new skill, so judging by the name, Ryuji wonders if he can now make medicine with it. He's not sure how it works, but he tries it anyway, determined to save the life of that girl. Then, after some careful preparations, he prepares a blue liquid and gives it to her to drink, hoping it would work. Shortly after drinking it, Ryuji is delighted to see the girl has woken up. He introduces himself and then informs her that she had collapsed in a nearby field. He inquires about her current condition, to which she replies, saying she feels really energetic, so much so that she feels she could take down the Demon King right now. Ryuji hears this and is really surprised as to how effective the medicine is. With all that being said, she introduces herself to him as Cecil while giving him the nickname Big Brother. As his fading consciousness struggles to grasp Cecil's introduction, Ryuji feels nothing but relief for saving her life. The next morning, he wakes up in his bed, recalling that he has been reincarnated into the new world, but for some reason, his life here isn't all that different from his old one. A couple of minutes later, he tries to make a pot of coffee, but he doesn't understand how he's supposed to do that because the stove doesn't have any outlets. Just then, Cecil walks in while yawning, asking him what he's doing and why he's making so much noise. Ryuji gasps at the sight of her, surprised that she stayed at his house this entire time. She explains that after he healed her, he fell asleep almost instantly, so she just ended up sleeping here as well. That being said, she asks him what he was making a fuss about earlier. He tells her about the situation with the stove that doesn't have any buttons, meaning that he can't make anything like that. Fortunately, Cecil knows this stove runs on magical power. Since it makes use of mostly dark magic, all Ryuji has to do is channel some magic into it. She demonstrates this by channeling her magic into it, causing the stove to ignite with a bright flame. Because of this, she believes she has proved herself useful, so she tells Ryuji she's going to be staying here from now on. Ryuji considers the fact that she's underage, so he tells her to go home immediately. However, she really insists on staying with him since she had helped him. That aside, he acknowledges that there's hardly any food around. At the same time, he's not sure how long the coins he received will last, so he needs to think of ways to start making money. Cecil knows the exact solution to his problem, so she takes him to the Adventurers Guild, suggesting that he becomes a potion salesman. All he has to do is make some potions to sell, so he wastes no time whipping up 2 bowls of medicine. Carrying them in the bowl like this would be almost impossible, so Cecil suggests he puts them in a container. Thanks to that advice, he prepares several bottles ready for sales, but strangely, the first and second batches seem to have slightly different colors. He then hears the voice informing him that he has unlocked the appraisal ability. With the help of his appraisal skill, he's easily able to separate both magic potions into a potion A and B, to which he assumes the letters A and B are the ranks attached to each potion. So far, he has made 4 potions in the B class and 6 potions in the A class. Wondering how much they're worth, he heads over to the nearest shop to sell, where the woman in charge offers 20 gold coins for 10 rank B potions. The receptionist gives Ryuji the payment for 20 B rank potions, even though only half of them are rank B, while the other half are rank A. The cashier can't tell the difference since they're all in the same bottle. Ryuji alerts her by showing her the ranking written on the bottles, but she replies, saying she can't see anything written on them. That statement makes him wonder whether he is the only one that can see the rankings on the potions. He tries to further convince her by showing the slight difference in color. But just then, 3 hefty guild members arrive, assuming he's trying to rip the receptionist off, so they tell him to get out of there before things get nasty. Just then, Thomas, the guild master of this village, arrives asking them why they are making so much noise. Ryuji, having a sweat on his face, explains that half of the potions are A-ranked, but they don't believe him. Thomas hears this and doesn't believe him as well, because he knows A-ranked potions are very hard to come by. Cecil bursts in at the last moment, reminding Thomas that there's a tool here used to measure the magic power of a potion, so she suggests they use it on both the potions, because she's convinced Ryuji isn't lying. That being, Thomas presents the magic plant used for measuring magic power. When you give the plant potions, its growth rate changes based on the rank. They start off with the rank B one, pouring it onto the plant. The plant then germinates in an instant, growing to a fair height, indicating that this B rank potion is very pure compared to regular ones. He then pours the A rank potion, causing the seed to grow so much that its flower fully develops. Thomas, seeing this, screams to the top of his lungs because it's been so long since he last saw an A rank potion. He is now fully convinced that this is an A rank potion. Following that, Thomas goes down to Cecil, asking her how she even knows about this plant. He finds both her ears and emblem to be quite familiar, making him realize that she is Cecil Leroy, whom everyone in the guild is familiar with. With all this being cleared up, Thomas apologizes for the inconvenience, paying Ryuji his proper amount of money for the potions. He and Cecil walk back from the guild until they run into a beautiful lake. The flowers growing around the lake can be used for potion ingredients, so with those, she's confident that they'll be able to make different kinds of potions with them. While plucking the herbs, Ryuji draws her attention, thanking her for what she did for him. It's all thanks to her that he made it to the guild and was able to sell his potions at a fair price. He loved his previous life in a tired and exhausting way, so with this second chance he's been given, he thinks that having Cecil in his life would make a really fun journey ahead of him. Cecil, excited to hear this, acknowledges that if they joined forces, they would have the most amazing journey ahead of them. Looking back in retrospect, today's events made Ryuji realize that he was carrying too much alone in his previous life. But now that he has a companion, he's fairly certain his new life would be more interesting than it was. Later that evening, while they're having dinner, Cecil senses a huge surge of magic crash into the house. They decide to look outside, finding a cat-eared girl lying unconscious on the floor. Ryuji's first instinct is to get the girl up and into the house, asking Cecil to help him with it. They take her in and place her on a bed. After some examination, they discover she sustained no external injuries or fractures, but even with that, she looks very uncomfortable, indicating that she's not getting any better. Cecil comes closer, using her detection skill, to see that she has a magic moon star in her chest. The star in her chest leads her to conclude that the girl is under a very powerful curse. The curse can only be broken by white magic users, and unfortunately, Cecil only knows black magic. Wondering what they should do, Ryuji picks up a stethoscope, trying to examine her. But at that same moment, he unlocks the examination skill. He uses it on the girl to discover that she's been affected by something known as the 7-day curse. Ryuji doesn't know what to do because he has never heard of that before. However, he's still willing to try and make something to cure her. Being skeptical about whether a potion can cure a curse, he reaches into the medicine cabinet, trying to make something different. However, all he's able to make are regular potions, which aren't going to be helpful in this case. At a certain point, he steps away from the cabinet, concluding that he simply can't do anything to help the situation. Cecil walks in, seeing that Ryuji is under a lot of stress, so she tells him to take a break, but he replies, saying he won't stop until he saves her. With that said, Cecil wonders why Ryuji is trying so hard for a total stranger he just met. Ryuji answers that by telling her a sad story from his previous life. A while ago, Ryuji had just come out of a meeting, where he noticed that one of his coworkers looked a little pale. He thought about speaking to him about it, but feared he might be perceived as weird for telling someone they looked sick. The following day, he received a phone call from one of his colleagues, informing him that the same coworker from the previous day had been hospitalized. With that happening, feelings of regret started to cloud his mind, making him think that his coworker wouldn't be in the hospital right now if only he had spoken up when he had the chance. Then, when he came to this new world and found the girl collapsed on the ground, he was able to help her, which made him really happy. That was the first time he ever felt like he could actually do something. From that moment onwards, he vowed to always save someone when he can, so he'll never end up living with regrets. Cecil understands his motive now, so with that being the case, she promises to stay up all night, looking for a solution with him. Ryuji suggests they immediately appraise everything they can find, and then mix some potions with it. He asks Cecil whether there is a way to break curses in this world, to which she replies, saying it might be possible. Just like she said by the lake, there are several types of potions. The potion he gave her while she was unconscious is one that restores magic, and the flowers she picked by the lake can make a vitality potion that restores mana. She has even heard that there are potions for poison and paralysis, although she hasn't seen them for herself. Meanwhile, Ryuji is digging through the medicine cabinet, looking for something that will counter the curse. After several minutes of searching, he comes across a fancy jar, which consists of a material named Ronsera. Just then, he notices that he can now appraise several materials simultaneously, leading him to wonder whether this is a level up from using the skill so much. He appraises hundreds of items until he finds the leaves of Creole, which is the exact herb they need to prepare the healing potion. Using that herb, he prepares a clear potion and has the unconscious girl drink it. As they notice the moon star symbol on her chest has disappeared, they immediately celebrate because that means the potion is having positive effects on her. Relieved to have saved her, they come to realize they are exhausted, so they lay on the ground, trying to get some rest. However, Ryuji is a bit curious about why this girl was under a curse in the first place, but for now, he wishes to celebrate this victory. The next day, Ryuji wakes up in bed, surprised to see that he has woken up past noon. Cecil then walks in, informing him that the condition of the unconscious girl has improved, but she still feels they should check on her one last time just to be safe. Shortly after, Ryuji uses his diagnosis skill on her and is delighted to find out that she's recovering very quickly. Just then, she wakes up confused, asking them where she is. Ryuji introduces himself, but before she can tell him his name, she looks at her chest, realizing her clothes have been taken off. Taking her clothes off and touching her chest were all part of the medical treatment Ryuji gave to her. She hears this and immediately screams in embarrassment. After she has calmed down, they all have a conversation over some tea, where Ryuji bluntly mentions that they found her collapse in front of their house and the special treatment he gave was very necessary to ensure her survival. Hearing that Ryuji is the one who saved her, she apologizes for not introducing herself earlier. Her name is Anya, a citizen of the beast person country of Lavijas. Her being a beast person makes sense to Ryuji because of her animal-like ears and tail. That aside, he asks her why she cursed in the first place, so she explains. Back in the land of the beast folk, Anya has just brought a big basket of fruits to her mom, who is planning to use them to cook. As they walk back, the ground under them appears to be covered by the moon star symbol, while they hear an eerie voice threatening their lives and families. It was at that moment she believed she got the curse, majorly because that's the last thing she can remember happening. After Ryuji hears this, he gets a little terrified, wondering who would do something like that to her, and for what reason. Anya's father is a member of the elite squad that's fighting the Demon King, so she thinks it must have been either the Demon King himself or one of his minions. Cecil sees how shocked Ryuji got, making her realize he doesn't know about the Demon King. In this world, there exists a Demon King who is a tyrant with an unfathomable amount of magic power. Not long ago, the Demon King waged war on the human realm, leading to a fierce battle between them both. Anya is certain the demon army are trying to target them, as a way of tormenting her father. All of a sudden, Anya gets up and leaves the room, saying she has to get back to her village because her mom and sister are likely still under the curse. Ryuji doesn't support her going on her own because she's still recovering, so if she ends up pushing herself a little too far, the outcome may be fatal. Cecil agrees, saying it would be unwise to try and search for people who she doesn't even know the whereabouts of. On top of that, the curse cast on her sister is one from the Demon King, so even if she finds them, she won't be able to do anything to break the curse. Ryuji understands it must be heartbreaking for Anya to remain here while her family is lurking in danger. With that thought, he informs Anya that he and Cecil are planning to journey across the world, so he asks her whether she would like to join them. They don't have a fixed destination on their journey, so Ryuji suggests they all travel, searching for Anya's family. If they're all together, they have a good shot at breaking the curse than if she were to search alone. Cecil agrees with Ryuji, suggesting they immediately head for the guild to gather some information. At the same time, Ryuji thinks it would be a good idea to stock up on all sorts of things for their journey. Cecil, hearing this, immediately gets excited because that means she's going to travel the world and eat good, delicious food at the same time. Anya sheds tears of joy, thanking them for this kind gesture. Shortly after, they arrive at the Murado Merchant Guild, where the receptionist informs them that the potion Ryuji sold to them a while ago has become widely popular in the area, with people coming all the way from the neighboring town to seek it out. After that, Ryuji explains the reason for coming here to the receptionist, so he suggests they go to the guild merchant's headquarters to try and get more information. Ryuji doesn't know where the headquarters is situated, so he asks for directions, but is shocked to find that it's so far that it would take them 10 days to arrive. The receptionist, assuming they're all aware, reminds them of the earthquake that happened 2 days ago. Cecil experienced it too, saying she felt an incredible surge of power while it happened. Hearing this, Ryuji realizes that it was exactly 2 days ago that he got reincarnated to this world, making him wonder whether it was as a result of his summoning. That earthquake caused the western road to collapse, meaning that if they want to get to the merchant headquarters, they'll have to circle around, which would take 20 days before arrival. Anya and Ryuji are just about to give up when Cecil holds the map, saying they just need to head northwest and cut through the forest instead, which would shorten the travel duration. Once they're through there, the town will be nearby, so they can just catch a carriage at that point. The receptionist finds this plan of Cecil's to be very impressive, so he praises her, having an excited look on his face. Ryuji, seeing this, wonders why this guild master has so much respect for Cecil. Shortly after, they leave the guild and continue their journey in a forest, but Ryuji advises they save the forest exploration for tomorrow, also suggesting they set up a camp at the entrance for tonight. He uses his summon technique to spawn a house, which allows him to come and go as he pleases. He can also take a break in the house while advancing through the forest. After setting up, Anya makes use of the meat and veggies to make a gourmet feast for them. She figures cooking for them is the least she can do since they're the ones taking care of everything else. This house Ryuji spawned is filled with a lot of gourmet spices, so she really enjoyed cooking here. They eat for a while, then Ryuji tells Anya just how surprised he is since she can cook this well at such a young age. Anya replies, telling him that she's actually 20 years old, which shocks Ryuji because he thought she was about 13. Anya expects such a reaction from him because she knows he doesn't interact with beast folk. Beast folk have a much longer lifespan relative to humans, so they grow really slowly, which is why they always look so young. That explanation makes Ryuji realize that he doesn't know much about this world. He figures it would be a good idea to hit the books and learn about what's to come. Just then, Cecil walks over to him, suggesting they take a bath together. Since they arrived, they'd mostly taken showers together. He thinks Cecil is a boy, so he doesn't find it weird for them both to be naked together. After Anya hears that, she stands in the corner, having a concerned look on her face. Shortly after, Ryuji and Cecil get into the bath, but Cecil is finding it difficult to take her clothes off. Ryuji, thinking she's a boy, walks in to help her. As he walks over to help her, he drops his jaw in surprise, realizing she's a girl after all. His surprise scream causes Anya to check on them, where she sees them both naked on the floor, making her scream as well. Ryuji runs out, apologizing to Cecil, but she doesn't really mind, telling him to wait. Ryuji now sits alone, wrapped in a blanket, where he comes to realize that he knows absolutely nothing about this world. So to ensure something like this never happens again, he vows to learn the ways of the wise. Meanwhile, a girl with butterfly wings floats in the tree bushes, observing Ryuji and wondering whether he's a real human. The next morning, Anya prepares breakfast for Ryuji and takes it to him. She opens his room door to see him on top of Cecil, who murmurs, "Big bro, you're so rough." In reality, Ryuji had no idea that Cecil was in his bed, so he's trying to wake her up. But she seems to be in a deep sleep. Anya gets the wrong idea, thinking they're about to do something nasty, so she apologizes for the intrusion and gets out of the room. A couple of hours later, they leave the house and continue their journey to the city of Geneva. Cecil assumes that they'll arrive in 3 days or so if they continue moving at this rate, so to arrive sooner than that, she suggests to Ryuji that they walk faster than normal today. But unfortunately, Ryuji is so out of shape that he's reached his limit. Lactic acid is building up in his legs, and his back hurts from picking herbs along the way. That said, he figures there's no way someone like him, who only did desk work, could match the stamina of locals like Cecil and Anya. Since he's the eldest among them, he doesn't want to show any weakness. He distracts the girls, saying there's a flying girl in the opposite direction, which provides him the chance to hide and take a potion that restores his energy. As he takes it, he realizes it was a good thing he made these potions yesterday. Last night, he had the idea of making various useful potions just in case they enter the forest. First, he prepares a potion to restore stamina. He spends most of his night producing a bunch of them, causing him to get really tired. While he's at it, he decides to make some eye drops. After the production is done, he's now wide awake and is so powerful that he would be able to see clearly even at night. With all these potions being prepared, he doesn't think he'll ever get tired while in the forest. Just then, something little flies and hits him in the face. He looks in front of himself to see a tiny cranky fairy, telling him to watch where he's walking next time. He alerts Cecil and Anya about it, but they can't see her. From their reaction, he assumes it's because of his special eye drops, so he gives it to them to use. Using it, they are shocked to see the tiny fairy floating right in front of them. This fairy is so angry because Ryuji bumped into her, causing all the royal pollen she gathered to get scattered. Ryuji recognizes that to be a powder he saw earlier, which is actually an ingredient for the queen's beauty serum. Cecil considers this to be a big problem because she knows the fairy queen is very troublesome, and if the fairy queen can't collect pollen to make the serum, Cecil believes she would come barging into this area. Fairies may not have much power, but they can bestow things like blessings on other races. If that happens, Ryuji may end up spending the rest of his life as the Queen Fairy's special serum maker. With that in mind, Ryuji asks the fairy whether he can help her collect the pollen for the Queen Fairy, mainly because the Queen Fairy sounds really scary. He can make potions, so he believes he may even be able to prepare the beauty serum. In a pouty tone, she thanks him for offering help while introducing herself as Garnet. The royal pollen comes from the royal flower that blooms at night, so Garnet feels it would be hard for humans who can't see that well at night to search. Ryuji replies, saying it's fine, while taking a drop of his eye potion, which allows him to see even the tiniest details in the night forests. He combines it with his appraisal skill and is easily able to locate the group of royal flowers. Garnet, being so excited about this, thanks Ryuji for his help. He plucks the flowers and uses them to make the beauty serum. After he's done, he gives some to Garnet to test out, which she does and is impressed because it's far more moisturizing than usual. For helping her out, Garnet takes a liking to Ryuji, saying she considers him to be a good person, even though he's a human. As thanks, she wishes to bestow the fairy's blessing upon him. In this world, a fairy's blessing is considered to be really valuable because it's known to draw out latent abilities within a person. Ryuji acknowledges that it's a really big honor, so he asks her if she's sure about it. The beauty serum he prepared will free her from hard labor for a while, so she wishes to bestow the blessing on him as a way of saying thank you. The bestowing process isn't safe to be done inside, so she tells Ryuji to come outside just in case. She doesn't want to take her chances because she recalls a time when the queen gave a blessing to an elf child inside, but their power went berserk, destroying everything. As they step outside to start the process, they look behind to see they have been surrounded by a pack of hungry wolves. It's obvious that these wolves were drawn by scent, so Garnet assumes they want to eat her. Cecil hears a loud noise, so she comes outside to see what's going on, but Ryuji tells her to get back, saying it's dangerous. However, she's not afraid in the slightest and just considers them to be mere dogs. She finds their barking noise to be too noisy to sleep, so she uses her magic to vanquish them all, surprising Ryuji with her true potential. He's baffled how she can use such a heavy spell so casually. However, she doesn't consider the spell to be all that tasking. She has practiced it so many times, so she's just gotten used to it. Meanwhile, Garnet is shocked how much mana and magic wavelength Cecil possesses, leading her to assume the only explanation is that she had received a blessing from a fairy. Cecil indeed received a blessing from a fairy named Tiziana. At the mention of that name, Garnet gets flustered and then flies away with top speed. Ryuji wonders why she left so abruptly, and is also a bit upset that he didn't end up receiving the blessing she offered to give. Cecil is aware of the fairy nature, so she assumes Garnet may pop up again sometime later. That aside, she also suggests to Ryuji that they walk a little more today to speed up the journey. Meanwhile, a girl wakes up from a coma, only to find out that her entire town has been injured. Seeing this, even in her terrible physical condition, she figures she can save everyone in the town if she can get some potions from the guild. It's now been 3 days since they entered the forest heading to Geneva. Thanks to the potion, they're making much better progress than Ryuji first expected. However, this forest is crawling with monsters, making him understand why Thomas earlier said that Cecil is the only one capable of using this path. While in the house, he realizes most of his clothes are dirty, so he walks to the washing room, asking Anya to kindly toss them into the washing machine for him. He gets there and is surprised to see that she's dressed like a maid from a harem anime. With a blush on his face, he asks Anya why she's putting those clothes on. To explain, she informs Ryuji that she ran out of clothes today and didn't have anything to wear, so she had no choice, but luckily, she found this maid outfit in the maid's room and wore it. At first, she assumes Ryuji doesn't like how the outfit looks on her, but he then tells her he thinks it suits her perfectly. Back in his world, only angels wore those kinds of dresses. Anya doesn't know what that is, so he explains, telling her angels are divine creatures who wear white robes and have ultimate healing power. Anya is delighted to hear this, so with that being said, she promises to help Ryuji in any way she can. After that, she takes the clothes outside to dry. Cecil then walks in, jealous that Ryuji had given Anya the role of an angel and completely left her out. Ryuji replies, saying that's because he's thinking of an even better role for her. Just then, Anya screams loudly, so Ryuji and Cecil rush out to check what's going on, thinking it's a monster. After they arrive, she informs them that she heard an eerie voice coming from between those trees. Ryuji goes to check it out, where he sees a girl lying on the floor. Out of shock, he screams, telling them all to get inside because he thinks it's a monster. However, Cecil tells him to calm down and see that it's actually just a woman. They take her inside and tuck her into bed while she remains unconscious. Ryuji uses his magic to examine her condition, finding out that she has the plague of the undead. They can tell this means she was poisoned severely, so Cecil wonders whether there were any venomous creatures or poisonous plants around there. Ryuji remembers that he made a little antidote when they entered into the forest. He dissolves it in water and gives it to the girl to drink, hoping it will work. As the girl drinks it, she immediately begins to gain consciousness, starting with a cough. This detoxification process ultimately depends on the potency of the poison and the quality of the potion, so he fears the supplies in the hospital may not be strong enough. Shortly after drinking the potion, the girl wakes up, saying she feels a bit better. She introduces herself to Ryuji as Era, a girl who came from the guild in the nearby town of Grigan. Back then, everyone in the town had fallen sick with the same disease, so she thought she might be able to find a potion in the royal capital to cure them. But unfortunately, before she could do that, the poison spread too fast and knocked her out. Ryuji would be able to prepare a potion to cure Era's town, but unfortunately, he doesn't have any high-quality material. Cecil hears that and reminds him that he's in the forest, which is a spot known to have high-quality materials gather in. In this forest, there are monsters who feed on grass, allowing them to absorb powerful nutrients from strong beings and thrive. This is why, just like the fairy gathering pollen the other day, there are high-ranking plants sprouting there. With this all being said, Era sits up from the bed, telling them that she wants to join their adventure. Seeing that Era is still in a very delicate condition, they tell her to lay back down and that she shouldn't push herself so hard. Anya grabs Era by the shoulder, telling Ryuji that she'll keep an eye on her while he and Cecil go out to get the necessary materials. After walking a long distance with Cecil, he thought he had finally made it out of the forest, but he's still there, wandering right into enemy territory. Knowing that he'll get tired eventually, he thought to bring some potions. However, he's unsure of whether they'll be enough. Holding that thought, he trips over something, making him fall to the floor. He looks back and sees that it's a ferocious wild boar which he has encountered in the past. Wasting no time, the boar begins chasing after them. It's moving so fast that Cecil doesn't even have time to cast a spell on it. Ryuji and Cecil have no choice but to hide in a tree, while the boar continues to repeatedly hit the tree, trying to make it fall. Ryuji assumes the boar is after one of his potions, so he tries throwing it down to him, but accidentally drops it on its head, killing it. They come down from the tree to see that the boar was being controlled by a parasite mushroom the entire time. They assume it must have fallen off because its fur got all shiny and smooth from the potion. The boar still appears to be alive, but is now calm and docile, making Ryuji realize that this mushroom may actually be a high-grade material after all. It sucked so much energy from the boar, so it's most likely brimming with power by now. At this point, Ryuji is really curious to find out how it works, so he conducts an appraisal on it, finding out this is an Inoko, an A-ranked antidote with detoxifying effects. Ryuji is very glad he came across this creature because with this, he'll be able to create an even stronger potion. He takes it back home and spends several hours making some potions, making him really tired. He places his head on the table, disappointed that he was only able to make a few bottles with such a massive mushroom. He gives Era this potion to drink, which causes all her pain to vanish. Now that she's been healed, Ryuji thanks Anya for taking care of Era this entire time. Just then, Era springs out of the bed to grab Ryuji's hand, boldly asking him to come and save her town. She adds to that, saying he can have her heart 1,000 times over if he agrees to save the town. Ryuji, confused by this, tells her not to say such things because they were planning to hop on a carriage once they got through the forest. They're in a bit of a pickle themselves, so he suggests to Era that they both join forces to help the Grey Goons. Shortly after, they arrive at Era's village, where she frowns as she sees the bad condition the guild she used to work magic in is. She enters the guild, informing the master that she has returned. Entering there, she sees that almost the entire village has been struck with plague, making them all sick. The master informs her that the number of sick patients keeps on rising, so they're running out of beds and have no choice but to keep them on the floor. Ryuji sees the massive crowd, assuming there has to be about 30 of them. At the same time, if these patients end up having the same illness as Era, that mushroom they used in saving her would be essential. However, one of that giant mushroom can only prepare 3 potions, so with that, Ryuji wonders how he would be able to brew enough potions to heal all these people. Ryuji and the others have successfully moved some of the patients to the hospital, however there are still so many left in the guild. Ryuji has examined several patients, and their condition is completely identical to Lara's, infected with the plague. They know what the ingredients for the medicine are, but they're not sure if they'll be able to find them so easily. That aside, Ryuji doesn't see any point in overthinking it. He just knows that he has to do what he can no matter what. That said, he decides to head to the forest with Cecil to hunt for ingredients for potions again, and in the meantime, Anya and Lara would team up and tend to the townsfolk. Lara and Anya really want to render some help, however, Lara is not quite sure if they'll be able to take care of all this by themselves. Just then, Anya has an idea, so she tells Lara to leave it to her. They still have 2 antidote potions from the ones Ryuji crafted yesterday, and on top of that, the powdered medicine that Lara took initially has been recreated with some ingredients they found at the hospital. Anya's big idea is to dilute them a bit with water and distribute it to everyone. This is only a temporary fix, so it should ease the symptoms. With this plan coming about, they decide to put on some clothes more fitting for the occasion. Meanwhile, Ryuji and Cecil are still trying to find the boar they caught last time but don't seem to be having any luck. Just as Ryuji is about to give up, The boar comes up behind and rams right into his back. It's the same boar from yesterday, so Ryuji is happy to see that it's doing okay. Meanwhile, at the guild, Anya and Laura are shocked they were actually able to distribute the potion to every single one of them. The patients claim to feel better, but they urge them not to push themselves because they are not fully recovered. Ryuji will return with the proper medication, so they just have to wait for him. Reminded of Ryuji and Cecil, she gets a little anxious, thinking that it's totally crazy for them to think they can make it through the forest on their own, even though one of them was a knight. They always tell her that she needs to be more level-headed, but it was the people of this town who embraced her when she was a lost, retired knight. Andrea, one of the civilians, sees that Anya has a sad look on her face, so he musters up some strength. Grabbing onto the bed, he tells her that it would be a much better choice to go to the guild headquarters in the north for some potions rather than going into the forest. Anya and Laura are aware of that, but still trust that Ryuji will come through for them because he always does. Meanwhile, the boar has just dragged Ryuji to an unknown location, where he looks down to see an entire army of boars with those mushrooms on their heads. This is great news because with all these mushrooms, they would be able to make enough potions to cure the entire Murado village. That aside, Cecil reminds Ryuji that the mushroom came off the boar back then when they dropped some face lotion on it. So to get the mushrooms off their heads, they would just need to drop more face lotion on their heads, and luckily, Ryuji had brought enough. That in mind, they throw the cases of lotion at the boar, which frees them from the parasitic control and also creates a heap of mushrooms for them to use. The first step of getting the mushrooms has been completed, however, another problem they face is how to transport all of them. It took them quite a long time to even carry one mushroom back to base, and even with the nourishment potion that restores their strength, it would still take a long time for them to carry. He wonders if they could carry it using Cecil's magic somehow, but unfortunately, her black magic is strictly for attacks. After some time, he realizes that they're wasting time just talking about it, so she suggests they carry it bit by bit. While they begin carrying the first mushroom, Garnet swoops in, saying that she's specially here to give Ryuji the blessing she forgot to bestow on him earlier. That being said, he hopes the blessing being bestowed will help them with the transportation of the mushrooms. The skill she bestows on him is black magic, which won't be helpful in this situation at all. However, Ryuji realizes that it may be useful someday even though not today. Garnet bestows the skill by kissing him on the cheek. After that, his system lights up, informing him that he has acquired some storage magic. He asks Garnet for more details about this skill, but before he gets the chance to, she flies away without saying a word. Not knowing how it'll be used, he uses the skill anyway, which spawns an empty box that stores the mushrooms by sucking them into it. Meanwhile, back at the guild, Anya is starting to panic because the symptoms of the illness are slowly coming back to the patients. As if on cue, Ryuji and Cecil return, unleashing a box filled with the mushrooms, which will be used in the preparation of the potions. Cecil is glad to see the skill Garnet bestowed on him was just what they needed. The storage magic he got allows him to compress and carry as many items as he wants. That aside, Ryuji tells them all that he'll go in to prepare the potions, while Anya and the others distribute them. About an hour later, Ryuji is done preparing the potion and it has been distributed, so they're all making a speedy recovery. Ryuji sits alone in a room, curious as to how and why all the people of this village got poisoned in the same way and at the same time. Just then, he spots a sad look on Anya's face and asks her what's wrong. Anya replies, informing him that some of the people who drank the potion still haven't recovered. That said, Ryuji asks her to examine those people so they can get to the bottom of it. Ryuji is then faced with one of the children who, even after drinking the recovery outlook, still didn't heal. With this happening, he wonders whether she has a different illness. He conducts an appraisal on her, seeing that her name is Amelia and also that she's infected with the same disease, but there seems to be something else attached to it. That said, he figures he may be able to learn some more if he touches her directly. He begins this through examination and sees a black hole tormenting her. The following morning, Ryuji has been able to treat Amelia after pulling an all-nighter. However, he's made a new discovery of something called delirium, preventing her from getting healed. Just then, Anya walks in with Ryuji's breakfast. He takes a look at the tray and sees some delicious-looking white bread. However, Ryuji is so tired that he accidentally grabs Anya's cherry, thinking it was the bread. Later that afternoon at the guild, Ryuji still feels so embarrassed about the incident that happened that morning. That aside, Era informs Ryuji that she talked to Amelia while he was asleep and discovered that the people of this town were poisoned from the impure water they drank from the river. Usually, the people of this town use well water, but a little while ago, a rumor spread around the town that sacred power dwells in the river water, which is why everybody began drinking it so eagerly. Amelia used that water for both cooking and laundry, so due to her devout nature, she ended up drinking a lot more water than everyone else, making her symptoms worse. But strangely, the person who started the belief of the magic water is no longer in town. According to Amelia, the person who spread the rumor wore a black mask and black robe. They don't know why he would have wanted to poison the people of the town, but for now, identifying the source of the poison is their top priority. They believe the cause of it is upstream, so they all suggest Lara, who's a former knight, to go and investigate what's going on over there. That being said, Cecil and Ryuji say they want to come along too. Anya is still a bit angry about what happened, but still agrees to come. They plan on heading upstream by horseback. Lara suits up with her knight gear, and once Ryuji sees her, he blushes with surprise, saying she looks so cool. Before they leave, Anya warns them that horseback riding can be a little difficult if you've never done it before. Anya has some experience, but Ryuji has never done it before, so Lara suggests he rides behind her for safety. Lara made this suggestion because Lara is the only option for him. She is too heavily equipped, and Cecil is too small to be used for balance. Anya is a beastkin, so she's naturally strong enough to support someone like Ryuji. That said, Anya agrees, telling Ryuji to hold on to her tightly. Along their journey, the road gets a little bumpy, so he staggers, holding Anya tightly by the waist. That movement shocks the horse so much that it goes crazy and runs off a cliff. Anya jumped off long before impact, and luckily, Ryuji held onto a boulder at the last moment before impact. With this happening, Anya rushes over to him, inquiring about his condition. Getting there, she apologizes to him for not being able to handle the horses, but Ryuji replies, telling her it's not her fault. He's more curious about where they are. He thinks this is the upstream area, but he can't say for sure. To him, the water seems to be darker than the river flowing through the town. He sees a dark cave nearby, so he wonders whether the source of the poison is coming from there. That said, they go inside the cave to see a massive amount of frog creatures staring at them. Looking at them, Ryuji wonders whether they could be the source of the poison. However, Lara doesn't think they should have that high of a toxicity. Just then, Cecil draws their attention to one giant frog hiding behind the others. Seeing this, she assumes this frog is what is referred to as a special individual. Ryuji doesn't understand what that means, so she explains. Since the demon lord appeared in this world, the world has been affected by his dark power in so many different ways. These special individuals are one of those effects. Because of that, weak monsters receive dark power and evolve into stronger individuals like that. After hearing this, Ryuji realizes this is not good because if it keeps happening, monsters all over the world would keep evolving and then become both stronger or more ferocious. Realizing that the frogs are the cause of her people's illness, Lara gets furious and begins to slash and kill as many frogs as she can. Seeing this, Ryuji tells Cecil to support Lara with some magic and tells Anya to keep the horses at bay so they don't get caught up in this. Ryuji was the one giving instructions, but he's not even sure of what he should do at this point, so he has no choice but to just watch the battle. Cecil tries using some wind magic to blow the frogs away, but the cave is too fragile for that, so he tells her to stop. Lara is the only one who can actually fight using close combat, so the fate of this battle rests on her shoulders. Using every ounce of strength she has, she finally defeats all the servant frogs, leaving the giant special individual as the final boss. But to her surprise, the special individual had called some of his comrades, so Lara is now outnumbered. With the current situation on the ground, Ryuji wonders what they could possibly do to get out of this. Just then, one of the frogs comes up behind him, ready to attack, but before the attack hits, Lara pushes him out of the way and absorbs the impact of the blow. Lara shielded him from the attack, so she's now been poisoned again. Ryuji, wondering what he can do to help, gives her one of his potions to drink, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be healing her. With this happening, his first instinct is to retreat, but he later realizes that he can't just leave these frogs like this because they're a danger to the people of the Murado village. He doesn't have any way to fight these frogs, so he knows he has a tough one to handle here. While in this dire situation, he has an epiphany. Instead of actually helping people, he has just been dead weight this entire time. He can't use magic like Cecil or ride horses like Anya. That said, he considers himself to be completely useless. Just then, Lara musters up some strength, saying it was quite silly of her to not keep her cool and got poisoned again. She overheard Ryuji calling himself useless, so she reminds him that although he can't use any offensive magic like Cecil or ride horses like Anya, he has the ability to cure sick people all on his own. That said, she believes it better they as a team all have their own strengths. Just like how he saved the town, she believes there are still things only he can do to help. Then with a look of unease on her face, she asks Ryuji to do his best to take care of this town. Ryuji has now snapped out of it and gotten back to his senses. He realizes that the giant frog isn't actually doing anything, but rather just summoning its minions to fight. Cecil finds that to be so annoying because if they weren't in the cave, she could just blast them away with her magic. That statement gives Ryuji an idea, so he asks Cecil to take both Laura and the horses outside. Anya doesn't like the sound of that because she fears Ryuji will end up dying in the process, but he looks back, reassuring her that he'll be fine. Cecil asks Ryuji for what his plan is, so he replies, asking her to drink one of his magic potions for starters. This is a secret potion Ryuji made, which will enhance their powers. After Anya takes Lara and the horses outside, she gets both anxious and worried, wondering how they're going to defeat that monster. Back in the cave, Cecil and Ryuji both drink the ability-enhancing potion, making them ready for battle. As Ryuji dashes towards the frogs, he carries his sword and says that the potion has made his body feel lighter and also makes him able to move his sword more freely. Dashing ahead, he avoids the minion frogs and heads straight for the giant boss. Reaching there, he drives his sword right into the throat of the frog, so it can't summon any of its allies. After that, he signals Cecil, who uses her magic to blow up the entire place, killing every single frog that was in there. Ryuji looks around and is glad to see the frogs have been defeated. However, the wind Cecil used was too strong, so he fears he may get blown away. He never imagined Cecil's magic would be this powerful. While being tossed around midair, he discovers that there's a cliff below the cave, meaning that he'll definitely die if he falls from this height. But then before he gets killed by the impact, Anya rides in on her horse and catches him at the right moment. After leaving there, they head back to an open field, so he summons his clinic and begins to examine Lara's condition. He takes her shirt off and sees the same crest as was on Anya's chest before, so he knows the exact potion to give her. As expected, she drinks the potion and the crest slowly vanishes, meaning that she's going to be okay, but just needs some time to rest. However, now that Ryuji thinks of it, he recalls that he once saw a similar crest on the special specimen's body. Meanwhile, a girl with wings flies in the midnight sky, wondering whether she had messed up by putting the frogs in the way of the humans. A few moments later, she doesn't think much of it because those frogs were only low-level creatures, and at the same time, she considers causing confusion among the humans to be an achievement on its own. However, she's noticed something strange about Ryuji. Throughout history, even royal apothecaries couldn't instantly make a potion to cure the entire town, but Ryuji was easily able to do that. With these facts brought forward, she wonders who Ryuji really is. Lara is now healed, so they head back to Murado village to deliver the good news. On their way there, Cecil gets really excited to tell them they've solved all the problems of the village. As they approach the village, they see a large group gathering at the village entrance, so they assume the whole city just came out to greet them. But to their surprise, the people of the village didn't only come out to greet them, they now consider them as saviors and worship them as such. Getting back to the house, Ryuji considers it to be quite a pain that they're being treated as the town's saviors. That aside, he plans on taking a rest day today, so he decides to go upstairs to organize the materials they gathered from the incidents. Walking upstairs, he realizes that he would be able to make some more potions if he preserves the pollen and mushrooms they gathered from the forest. Before reaching the lab, his system lights up, informing him that he has unlocked the attic since the castle magic had leveled up thanks to the large number of herbs that were collected. Ryuji is confused about what this is because he never had one of these even in his previous life. Cecil comes up to the stairs to see this attic that has spawned out of nowhere. Wondering what they could use this space for, Cecil recalls that they used to grow herbs in these kinds of places back at her house. The attic exposes them to sunlight, and they can be easily watered with Cecil's magic. Hearing this, Ryuji has an epiphany. If they grow herbs here, they could easily get a steady supply of what they collected and won't have to go into the forest or fight monsters whenever they need it. That said, they put a couple of herbs they gathered into a pot, trying to grow them. And since the water they're using on it is infused with magic, the herbs will grow faster than normal. And then just like that, they had created an amazing greenhouse. Anya comes over to inform them that their tea is ready, but getting there, she's curious to find out what they're having so much fun with. Ryuji informs her that they've set up a herb garden for the harvesting of medicinal herbs. It's also at the moment he realizes that he's been so busy having fun that he didn't notice that Anya has been left out. He's looking for ways that she can help with the greenhouse, so he suggests that she cooks something with the herbs. Lara and the others are throwing a farewell party, so he's planning for them to do something in return. He thinks cooking for the people of this town would be a great way to show that. Anya gets excited as she hears this because she's finally going to be useful. In her homeland, they have a local dish called herbal soup, which is made for either the sick or warriors going into battle. She suggests they make a big batch of it for the townspeople to drink as well. However, she's not sure if they have a pot that would be big enough to contain it. But Ryuji tells her to leave it to him because he has just the perfect item in storage. After searching through storage for a while, he brings out a giant holy grail that's made of clay, confusing everyone else. This is the holy grail Ryuji made when he was very little, and it's so precious to him that just thinking about it makes him tear up. It was back when he was a fresh-faced new employee. Over there, it was an annual tradition to hold a pottery festival. As a new hire, he got bullied and pushed around, so he stubbornly poured all his pent-up emotions into making that holy grail, which he modeled after an RPG game he was obsessed with at the moment. Anya and Cecil are delighted to hear this because they find it to be quite an interesting story. That in mind, he realizes that things were tough back then, but if they are able to use the Holy Grail for everyone like this, then it wouldn't be all that bad. They decide to make some soup with the Grail, so they ask Anya for the herbs they should use. Anya presents a list of vegetables, which have their own medicinal benefits. Seeing them, Ryuji doesn't know the effects, but he still finds it to be a logical combination. About an hour later, Anya is almost done preparing the soup, where Ryuji goes over to take a look at it, realizing that what Anya has made is some medicinal curry. Curry is made by the mixing of spices, so if you just throw in a bunch of herbs and simmer them, it would become curry. Lara walks in, taking in the pleasant aroma of the curry. After that, she comes to call everyone because the preparations for the farewell party are finished. They all go to the party and are surprised to see how elegantly Lara had organized it. Ryuji scores the party, meeting some interesting guests, and then after some time, Lara walks over to him, giving him her sword as a gift. This was what she used while she was an apprentice, so Ryuji asks her whether it's really okay for her to have it. She believes Ryuji would someday need to go into battle again, and this sword is relatively light, so it wouldn't be a burden to him. After this, she then tells him that although she couldn't see all that clearly in the cave, she thought that Ryuji looked really cool wielding that sword. Hearing this, Ryuji blushes really hard because he has never been called cool by a girl before. Just then, one of the guests draws everyone's attention, informing them all that a stranger in a robe is eating their soup. At first, they think that lady is a citizen of this town, but later realize that there's no woman in this town that would be wearing such a suspicious robe. The lady takes her hood off and is revealed to Princess Mia, the princess of a kingdom, and also an ally of justice. She finds Ryuji's soup to be very delicious, especially because she didn't expect for this town to have such a delicious soup. Once she hears that Ryuji was the one who made it, she looks at him with an excited expression, asking him to join her in her journey. Just then, Mia's bodyguards who have been looking for her finally find her, and are not happy that she's eating soup that's meant for the needy. That said, they drag her by the collar back to the inn where she's going to be staying. Seeing this, Ryuji remains confused on what that's all about. The princess appearing reminds one of the citizens that he had sent a carrier pigeon to the royal capital as soon as the crisis started, so he figured they just came to check on them. As the guards take Princess Mia back to the inn, they warn her, saying she needs to be more careful because they have a very important mission. At the Gragan Inn, the princess expresses her frustration because ever since they vowed to vanquish the demon lord in this quest of theirs, they haven't got a single clue of where he could be. They initially came to this town on a request from the capital's messenger pigeon about the crisis going on, but by the time they arrived, Ryuji had already solved it. At the same time, there have been frequent incidents caused by demons or monsters, but strangely there haven't been any actual sightings. Just then, one of the royal staff informs Princess Mia that yet another carrier pigeon has arrived from the castle, and judging by the contents of the message, it seems that a demon-like being has clashed with a beast warrior and ended up getting injured. Hearing this, Mia is eager to know the whereabouts of the injured person. Apparently, the injured person set off from the beast tribe's land and ended up fighting some demons along the way. That being said, Mia suggests they have the castle's summoners call the demon lord here. However, the royal staff disagree with this idea. They feel that way mainly because, in order to unleash a summoning spell, you would need something close to your target, something like an item that belonged to the demon king or even his name. But unfortunately, they don't even know the demon king's name. The royal staff believe that the cleric's summoning failed because the princess dashed out of the castle in her eagerness to set off on her journey, leaving them unprepared. The princess, looking down in shame, tells them not to blame her because she just expected them to handle it like professionals. That aside, the royal staff have their next destination to be meeting the beast warriors. Meanwhile, with Ryuji and the others, they arrived exhausted in the city of Avaniches. The carriage they took can't go any further, so they'll need to transfer to get to Geneva. Shortly after, they arrive and move around the area and see that this town is really huge and must have a lot of history. Moving forward, they spot a giant building that looks like an arena, but it's so old they assume it's out of use. However, Ryuji senses something eerie about the place, making Anya get scared because she gets really terrified at the mention of ghosts or anything haunted. That aside, they continue to look for the carriage transfer spot, where they run into a shady-looking man who asks them whether they are going to Geneva. He advises them not to go because the carriage riders heading to Geneva all fell ill and went to the church. Ryuji is shocked to hear this, so he assumes it's maybe a disease. The man replies, saying it's as a result of a disease known as the gladiator's curse. The giant arena-like building is actually an arena where monsters fought the gladiators, and if there's ever any bad luck, it's said to be the gladiator's curse. That said, he suggests they ask the church for details. Getting to the church, they see a long line of people waiting to see the father, making her wonder if those are the cursed people. Eager to know what this is about, he uses his diagnosis skill to check their condition. He touches the guy in front of him and sees that he has some simple back pain only. That's not anything unusual, so he wonders whether it may be as a result of a skill level issue. But even with that, he doesn't want to let this go, so he suggests they ask the priest about the gladiators. It's finally their turn to see the priest, and on getting there, she assumes they're here to dispel a curse, but they rather inform her that they just wanted to ask her about the arena curse. Being asked that, she decides to explain. About 10 years ago, it all started when her great-grandfather was the priest over there. Back then, there were 6 strong gladiators in the arena. These gladiators fought monsters every single day, which thrilled the audience. Ryuji doesn't understand why they would intentionally do such dangerous things, so the priest informs him that unlike knights, gladiators could come from any background, and anyone could become one. It was the only job for those with debts or dubious backgrounds to gain wealth and status. Some even became gladiators just to marry someone who's above their status. The prizes and rewards that came along with it were pretty good, which benefited the town greatly. However, one day, the gladiators suddenly went berserk and attacked the people around them, but for unknown reasons, no one ended up surviving it. A little while later, one of the priest's ancestors went to the arena to soothe the spirits. Getting there, they found a gladiator's ghost. The arena's underground barrier was said to be able to contain them. After hearing this story, Ryuji understood that this means the people of this town are cursed because the barrier sealing the gladiators got weakened. The priest acknowledges, saying there's a good chance that everlasting magic simply doesn't exist, but she tells them not to worry, and also if they're headed to the arena, they should try and purchase some holy water, which acts as a purifier. Ryuji and Cecil have gotten all the information they need, so they are ready to leave. But before they do, Ryuji stops to look at a painting that really caught his eye. The priest can see that he's quite interested, so she informs him that this is a painting drawn to depict the gladiators from that time, so that their epic battles never get lost in history. That aside, Ryuji notices a black haze on the chest area of the painting, which makes him realize that it's the same black crest that appeared on the gladiator's chest. He finds that crest to be quite familiar, so he wonders whether it's the same one that appeared back when Anya was cursed. Their goal was to get to Geneva, but originally, it was to find information about Anya's family. So if they're trying to understand this crest, that means the person who cursed Anya might know something about her family. With that in mind, he decided to buy some health potions because they would soon be heading to the arena to gather some more information. Shortly after, they arrive at the arena and are surprised to see that it's quite huge, but also a bit rundown. Cecil moves around the place for a bit and claims to sense some sort of magical presence, which makes her think that the evil spirit was possibly sealed in here. However, Ryuji can't sense a thing, so Cecil suggests he uses 10 eye drops that allowed him to see fairies back then. Maybe it would help him see ghosts as well. Ryuji hears this and laughs a little because he knows it doesn't work like that, but still acknowledges that it would be quite convenient. Just then, they hear a loud sound in front of them coming from a dark, shadowy figure, which is assumed to be the sealed evil spirit. Cecil throws a potion at the spirit, but is surprised to see that it hasn't disappeared. She takes a proper look at the bottle and realizes that this is a nourishment potion, which actually just raised the ghost's vitality. This vitality potion caused the ghost to reassume a human form. Just then, a bearded man walks up, yelling at Ryuji and the others, asking them what they are doing here. After Ryuji explains, the man calms down and introduces himself as Vig, a 35-year-old gladiator who's single but has a lover. Hearing this, Ryuji is surprised because Vig is actually much younger than he first thought. Cecil knows he's a gladiator, but notices that he doesn't have any marks on his chest like all gladiators are meant to have. Vig spent his earlier days battling monsters in the arena as a gladiator. He defeated many monsters and thrilled the audience in the best way possible, But then one day, his fellow gladiators went berserk. Hearing this, Ryuji widens his eyes in surprise because it's just like what the priest from the church said. The experienced gladiators were helplessly slaughtered, and among them was his crush, Rosalie, who he considered to be a vision of grace and beauty. When the gladiators went crazy, one of them ended up stabbing Vig, so he couldn't rush to save Rosalie. But by the time he woke up, he had already become a spirit beyond death, and so did Rosalie. All the gladiators were buried beneath this arena as well, but another barrier in their way, preventing him from reaching the place where Rosalie had been laid to rest. Vig believes that if he's a ghost, then Rosalie is also most likely a spirit trapped beyond the barrier. Because of that, he tried everything in his power to break the barrier that blocked his way to Rosalie. At first, nothing went right at all, but after a few years of persistent attempts, he finally managed to whisper across the void and even move objects slightly. That said, he's decided to set his sights on a carriage that's visiting the town, hoping to mingle with as many people as possible. But no matter how hard he tries, everyone only gets scared whenever they see him, which is why people eventually stopped coming to the arena. However, the church priest doesn't seem to have noticed him up until this point, making him believe she has no form of sixth sense. However, thanks to the potion that Ryuji threw on him earlier, he was able to slightly slip through the barrier, giving him hope that he'll be able to fully break through. With that story being told, Ryuji tells Vig that he doesn't have any problem with making any more potions for him, but what brought them here is their curiosity about gladiator emblems, so he asks Vig whether he knows the reason why he was the only one who didn't go berserk like the others. Vig replies, saying it's likely because of the aspiration to become a gladiator. Most gladiators sought wealth and fame or honed their fighting skills. Vig became a gladiator to earn the right to marry Rosalie, his crush of much higher status. But no matter how many times he visited Rosalie's house, they always turned him away, so much so that he even considered eloping. Then one day, Rosalie suggested he becomes a gladiator because in this town, if you make a name for yourself in the arena, you would get the gladiator title, which in turn would increase his status. If he were to become the strongest gladiator, he would get a royal bracelet as proof of royal endorsement, meaning that Rosalie's father would finally acknowledge them. Although they knew fighting monsters could be dangerous, Vig just wanted everyone to truly accept them without having any more doubts. So for Rosalie's sake, he decides to take on monsters. Fortunately, Vig was blessed with a strong build and commendable skill with a sword, so he was easily able to climb through the ranks as a gladiator. And finally, he became a high-ranking gladiator and received a bracelet to show that. After getting the bracelet, he proposed to Rosalie and was then on his way to go see her father. But unfortunately, that was when tragedy struck. Vig knows what he's about to say might sound foolish since they're both dead, but he wants to see Rosalie again or even just lie in the same grave with her. It's the determination he had to see her again that kept him wandering the land of the living and not passing on. Hearing this, Cecil knows they have to help him somehow, so she looks back to Ryuji, asking him what he thinks. To her surprise, she looks back to see Ryuji and Anya, crying from just how sad the story was. They're so moved by the story that they vow to help Vig find his lover. After this, they head back home and are seen in the attic greenhouse. Ryuji grabs a lot of herbs and reasons that Vig might need several nourishment potions to pass through the barrier. Victims from back then are buried under the arena, so Ryuji believes they may turn into spirits like Vig and attack them. He's thinking of making lots of clear potions just in case. And if there are suffering spirits among the spectators, he wants to help them as well. He decides to boost the effects of the clear potions because it doesn't look to him like things are going to go all that smoothly. That said, he decides to make a ton of potions. After making them, he uses his skill to store all the potion bottles he's made. Making all of those, he believes they should cover them for the meantime. It's time to head back to the arena, but before that, they realize they still have one more thing left to do. Cecil has been wearing his sister's clothes this entire time and doesn't have any for herself, so they head over to a clothing store to get some. Ryuji believes that if they're heading into a dungeon, they would need to gear up properly. Having bought some clothes, Cecil gets a little too excited and takes her clothes off in the presence of Ryuji, so out of embarrassment, he yells at her, saying she should use the changing room. Shopping with the girls reminds Ryuji of how he used to go shopping with his sister back in his old life. Just carrying the bags for them gives him a nostalgic feeling. After a few moments, they try the clothes on and Ryuji widens his mouth in surprise as he sees how elegant they look. After that, Vig notices that Ryuji hasn't bought anything for himself, so he informs Vig that he already bought clothes for himself when he first got here. Then all of a sudden, Vig gets a little moody because he just had some memories of how he often gave Rosalie accessories and clothes when she was alive. Ryuji hears this and tells him to stop bragging because it hits hard for single people like him. Getting back home, he decides to check the arena's layout just in case, so he asks Vig whether he could remember and give any information about the building's layout. Vig remembers quite a lot, so he breaks it down for Ryuji. The first floor was where he and Ryuji first met last night at the arena stage. Then there's a door leading to a hallway and stairs going down. However, there's a barrier that Ryuji won't be able to pass through, which is the barrier that seals the evil spirits. He would only be able to make it through with the help of some potions. He knows that he won't be able to just make some midway if he were to run out, so he decides to make some more potions. At this point, Vig is confused why Ryuji would be doing all this for someone he just met, so he replies, revealing to Vig saying that he died in his original life and came here, shocking Vig. Ryuji was planning to visit his parents and sister before he died, but didn't get the chance to, so it's now become one of his biggest regrets before dying. There are little things he wished he did better, which is why Vig being separated from his loved ones resonates with him. Because of that, he can't help but feel involved, so he has now made up his mind, dedicating this portion of his life to helping Vig find Rosalie.